classmates. No one will ever see this except for your classmates. So don't feel like anybody is ever going to see this. Um, so Brooke, I was just telling everybody, okay, so at 6:30 every Tuesday, I'm going to send out an invitation. It's a unique invitation to a Zoom meeting, a Zoom conference. That's this. It's live. I send it out at 6:30, so between 6:30 and 7, you can think of that as office hours. 7 o'clock, we'll start the recording. And so those of us, I just turned the recording on, those of us just watching the recording, all cool. Um, we'll record it from 7 until we're done, 7:30 or something, and then I will upload it to YouTube where it is unlisted, and then I'll send an announcement just to our classmates with a link to it. So if you miss a class, no big deal because there it is. If you're here for a class and you're like, shit, what did we talk about? And then what did we talk about then? There's the link to it. I have slides. I have the slides and I upload those, but I understand we're revamping our slides, so there may be a delay in the upload of slides. Okay, but all the slides are in the video, so you can always watch the video. We're doing something for accessibility for slides. So for instance, if you have a slide deck that has, let's say, 30 pictures in it, it requires that you go through and label all 30 pictures in your slide deck, just to put an alternate text in there for every single slide before you can upload it and have it be accessible. Well, you can imagine the amount of extra work that would involve, right? So anyway, the videos are on carte blanche. So the video has the slides in them, and you can always go through that way. And as soon as I can, I'll get the slides up. Anyway, so I do that. I send out the announcement. And I'll tell you this right out in the get-go. When we get to the syllabus, I'll show you the syllabus. I know it's sort of silly week. I didn't want to have a class for us last week because I figured you all would be super busy starting classes and everything. So I figured let's just offset it by a week. We'll be done the week before finals week, so that like I try to make life easier for us, not harder. So I started it a week after you guys had to run around and try to figure out where you had to go, and I tried to get it done the week before finals week so that you're not this class doesn't conflict with all the rest of the classes that you're taking, if that makes any sense. So I try to make it so that it fits around it. Um, we'll talk about due dates. I really don't care about due dates. I have to put due dates on these things. I used to only have one due date, which was the last day of the semester, and students went batshit crazy because they were like, What are you doing? You have to tell us when the things are due. And I say, okay, but that's not really how entrepreneurship works. Okay. You get stuff when you start a business, you get stuff when it's done, and you're done with the whole thing when the whole thing is done. But I put due dates on everything. Okay. So there's due dates on everything, but understand if you're going to be late for a due date, I don't care. I don't take points off for the lateness on a due date. I couldn't care less. The only due date I actually care about is the last one, which I think is May the 7th, because all of my grades are due. So they tell me I have to put grades in. So whatever I have, I put in. Does this make any sense to anyone so far? Okay. Do you have any questions? Oh, also, the chat thing. I know we all are kind of trained on, every one of you had to go to high school on Zoom, right? At some point in your lives. And so you were conditioned with protocols and all that kind of stuff. I invented this class in 2015 before there were any protocols. I was doing this on something called Big Blue Button before they even had Zoom. So I have no protocols. I'm a total wild man when it comes to this stuff. So don't feel like you have to raise your hand or put a little yellow sticky up or something, or that you have to like put something in the chat. Just yell. Just literally turn on your microphone and say, "Yo, Brad, what?" Okay, so can we agree with that? Like especially if you're taking time out of your day and to join me in the evening for this class live, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you. But if you can't, I understand. So those of us watching the recording, no biggie. But if you can, I always appreciate it. And so, the least I could do is like we treat each other like normal human beings. In fact, lay off like all of the accolades, okay? Just call me Brad, right? You don't need to call me doctor or professor or any of that crap. It's just Brad, okay? Because if we're going to start businesses together, which is what we're going to do, I was explaining to Ludi and Carson earlier, and Christian, that this class, Management 215, I wrote this class, okay? I was the first co-creator. I was the co-creator and the first co-director of the entrepreneurship minor, okay? I created the minor. And when we created the minor, the idea was that no matter what major you're in or what school you're in, this is an opportunity to get the idea of starting a business in something that you're interested in to go. Okay. And because I know, like, let's say Ludi is working in forestry, right? And so she knows a lot about forestry. She knows a lot about climbing trees. She knows a lot about working in the forest. But maybe there's never been a business class offered through forestry. This is the opportunity to take everything that's your specialty and turn it into something that's a sustainable business. And I use the word sustainable in the business sense of the word, meaning like if you're selling lemonades, you're selling lemonade for $10 and the lemons only cost you 5. And that means you can stay and sustain that business. It can keep going, right? So that's the whole point of the class. Now, there's two other classes that are in the core. One's called 310 and the other one's called 425. I always like to think of it as this way. 215 is how to start a lemonade stand. Keep it simple, super simple. The whole basis of this class is going to be on conditioning ourselves into creating something that we're good at, that we know, and that we can turn into a marketable opportunity to sell, and then figure out how to count beans, put together goals, follow the goals, be accountable to the goals, have a method of keeping yourself accountable to those goals, and then turning that into a final paper, which is like a feasibility paper. Okay. That was 215. I expect that none of us have ever seen a balance sheet, have never seen an income statement, have never seen a cash flow statement, have never even maybe even seen a checkbook. Okay. I'm taking that into account because that's what we're going to do in this class. So if you're already way ahead and already have done that and you already started a business, this should be the easiest damn class you've ever taken. If you've never seen any of that stuff, hopefully I'll fill in pieces. Maybe you've seen parts of it and there's little holes in the puzzle, and I'm going to help you fill in those holes so that you can literally, when we're done with this class, start. When I tell you some of the crazy ass businesses I've started, you won't believe it. You won't believe it. I'll tell you that in a sec. Some of them have been really successful, and some of them have been absolute, total, complete failures. In fact, one of them almost got me in jail. But that said, the second class in the three parts of the minor is 310, which is an engineering class, which is how do you set up a lemonade catering company? Okay, I'm using this as a metaphor. They don't really mean lemonade, okay, but I'm just using lemons as a theme, right? So lemonade stand, lemonade catering company, and then 425, which I also wrote. So I wrote 215 and I wrote 425. Like I wrote those classes. 425 is how do I scale? How do I take my lemonade catering company that I make a couple extra bucks and turn that into a company that I can actually live on, that can make $50 million in revenue in 5 years? Okay. So that's what that class is about. But let's focus on what we're doing now. We're doing Management 215. It's called the entrepreneurial mindset. Now, before we go any further, I just want to make sure that I point something out here that I had here on my desktop and now I can't find, which is, oh, because I know, because I just turned off my mail and it was in my mail. Okay. Uh, there is a big deal thing tomorrow night. I don't know if any of us have time tomorrow night at 5:30. Do you know where the Eric Barron hub is downtown? There is a thing going on where it came from Jamie. He's the director now of the minor. Where is, if I can find him? Let me show that Jamie. Darnell, advertise this event. Here it is. Okay. Tomorrow night. Let's see, share. Here it is. All right. Tomorrow night at the hub, the no, not the hub, the Eric J. Barron. Why would they call that the hub? That doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, the hub is the hub, right? So why would you name something else a hub? Like, wouldn't you only want one hub? And you think, isn't that a little hubbub, right? I mean, that's a little too much hub. Anyway, it's on Borough Street. Eric J. Barron Innovation. It's the launch box or the launch. It used to be the launch pad when I ran it. Now it's
Do you
called
think I can
launch.
leave?
What's that?
What is this?
Are you asking me a question?
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. I just want to make sure I'm answering the questions you're asking questions. Okay. Uh good. So it's tomorrow at 5:30 to 8, Wednesday, January 21st. Eric J. Barron Community. Get it? See, it's like community, like NT. So it's for the minor. Come on over. I'll go there. You can meet me in person. I'll be there. I'll be shaking hands if you dare. I'll be there. Let me turn that back off. Okay, so I did mention that, and that's in the recording. That's good. Now, let me turn off. See, I'm trying to follow every single thing at the same time here. Okay. So let's take a look at the Canvas and see what we're doing here for the class. We'll share over here to the Canvas, see what we're doing for the class. Then I have a couple pictures for you, and then we'll move on. All right, so here you go. Now this is our class. This is Canvas. This is what it should look like for you. The class is organized in Canvas. The entire class is organized on the modules page. So if you're ever like, where are we in the modules? What did we do last week? What are we doing next week? You'll see I turn them on module by module. Okay. Week zero, I call last week zero because we didn't do anything. Okay. The only thing I said was go take a look at each other. Some of us have introduced ourselves. That's terrific. And guess what? Going into next week, that's all I want you to do. I want you to read each other's introductions. Do you have to read all of them? No. Is there a test? No, there's not a test. You know what you have here? You have 48 of you, 48 students plus me. Okay. The amount of resources in this group is freaking amazing. I mean, amazing. And so you're going to look through here and see that you have some similarities with quite a few, if not at least one, of the students in the class. What does that mean? Well, you'll understand that even more as we go along, because one of the most important parts about entrepreneurship is forming a network, which Ludi already did. She already got on that one. So that's good. Now, the other thing we have going here, okay, so our introduce, that's what we're going to do. And you'll see that the first thing I put on here is the textbooks. Okay, so there are two textbooks for this class. One's called Enterprising Nonprofits, and the other one is called The Accounting Game, the basic accounting, fresh from the lemonade stand. Remember how I said this class should be called the lemonade stand? There's a book. If you want to take a look at them, start taking a look at them. I promise we'll go through all this stuff. I promise. Okay, I'm not going to make you just read stuff and then that's it. In fact, you'll see that the next thing I say is take a look at the syllabus. So let's take a look at the syllabus here. It's right there. This is spring 2026. You'll see the synchronous classes are via Zoom, Tuesdays from 7 to 8-ish, beginning 1:20. That's today. Here's me. Call me Brad. I do have an office, although I don't spend much time in it. I'm much more likely to just meet on a Zoom or something like that. But if you want to meet in person, hey, listen, come on out tomorrow night. I'll be there. I thought I turned that off. I almost turned that off. You'll see here as we look through the next thing here on the syllabus, the textbooks that I just said. Okay, so the syllabus, it says that you have to read the syllabus, right? And by the way, I will know if you have read the syllabus or not. There's an ask in the syllabus, and so I'll know whether or not you read it. That's important that you read it because it's the contract for the class. You'll see here, Enterprising Nonprofits, a toolkit for social entrepreneurship. You can get it at Amazon and pay for it. If some of us like to read a book, right? And we like to write in the margins and everything. Listen, you can buy this book here at Amazon for like $2. Okay, like a used one for $2. Here's hardcover. Here you go. Used from $2.35, right? So if you want to have one that you write on it. If you don't want to spend any money on books, don't. I stole the book for you. It's here in the zip files. You just download the zip and it's all the chapters. Okay. Same thing goes for the other thing. Okay, the other book. You can go on the Amazon here and you pay your $2.35 for a book that you can write on or write in or dog ear or put on the, read on the John or whatever. Or if not, here's the PDF files. Okay, so you can get it completely for free. You can actually you can cheat. You can download the PDF files and then print them out on a printer that's free, like at school. And then you can have both. You can dog ear, write in, and also not have to pay money for it. Okay, course objectives. Okay, we'll talk about this in a second. It's problem based. We'll go through the grading in a second here. It says class participation. This is very important. I want to make sure we're really clear on this. Okay, this will be based on participation in class discussion. 35% of the grade is class participation and class assignments. It says right here, class participation requires that if not participated in synchronously, classes will be watched asynchronously in the recorded forms completely. The class, synchronous or asynchronous, attendance will be recorded and counts for 20% of the class participation grade. Includes participating, which that means the class assignments account for the other 80%. Oh, Let me drink a little bit of water here because I'm coughing. Excuse me. Thank you. So here's the deal. It says assignments. Okay, I'll give you all the assignments in plenty of time. We already discussed due dates. I don't care about due dates, but I'll give you a due date. Somebody wrote this. They said somebody wrote this on a SRTE thing. They said this is very confusing, and there's no set due dates. Made this course very difficult for me. The weekly meetings were not necessary, as I prefer just a written. Here's what you need to do this week for this course. So if that is you, if you're the kind of person that really just wants to take a correspondence course, okay, that just has a list of items for you to accomplish and then you get an A, that's not this course. I didn't write it that way. I'm not teaching it that way. I think those courses are useless. And I'll tell you a little bit more about me in a second. So here we're going to start with our introduction. We'll move into this next week, doing well by doing good, opportunity recognition, risk, path dependence, customers, financial management, and we'll dive into all those things. So if you've never seen an income statement, by the time we're done with this class, you'll definitely feel confident with it. And then taking that and modeling it into a building, a business, then networking, which Ludi's already all over, and then organizing and having an organization culture, hiring and firing, marketing, selling. Okay, now I'm going to stop for a second and I'm going to see, have I blown everybody away or are we still all listening at all? Okay, we've got a Ludi, we got a thumbs up. We got a thumbs up from Brooke. We got one from Carson. We're doing actual thumbs up. And Alexander Amani. That's very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on to the next thing here. And I'm going to show you just a few things here. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. Okay. Just a little bit so that you can see my background. Why? Because I'm essentially applying to you for a job. You don't have to take this class with me. You could take Management 215 with at least three other professors at Penn State who are way better than me and funnier and more interesting. All I have to offer is my own background. And by the way, anytime that you meet somebody who's going to teach you in entrepreneurship, you should always question authority. You should ask the person what's your background. Don't be rude. You don't have to be mean, but you can say, well, have you ever started a company? Because entrepreneurship is kind of a BS word that kind of got invented in like the last 10, 15 years. When I was in my 20s, okay, into my 30s when I owned a bunch of different businesses, and even into my 40s, the word entrepreneur, okay, was an insult. If somebody said, "Wow, you're a real entrepreneur," they were basically saying that you were probably going to be bankrupt tomorrow. Okay. That was basically saying that if you paid them, they wanted you to pay them in cash because they didn't believe that you were going to still have a business the next day. So when I owned a business in the 1990s, if someone were to say to me, "Hey, you're a real entrepreneur," I would have dropped the F bomb on them and say, "F you, I'm as small as a business owner. Thank you very much." So go and take your entrepreneur and shove it where the sun doesn't shine, if you can imagine that. So a lot of people come out and are like, "Oh, I teach entrepreneurship, and I read it all in this book." Anything written in a book. The thing about entrepreneurship is it is absolutely dynamic. It changes from second to second. The second I tell you, you can't really do it that way, I'm wrong. And somebody else is already doing it that way. So the meaning, the word perfection in entrepreneurship is literally meaningless. If I were to tell you 20 years ago that we're going to start a cab company in New York City that's not going to use cab medallions and we're not all going to get murdered in our sleep, you'd have said I was a stupid idiot. You'd have said, "What the hell are you talking about?" And I just described to you Uber, right? Okay, so let me just let's move in here and we're going to share and look at some slides here. Just a couple slides here so we make sure we're all on the same page. Now let's see. Did I do that right? No, I did that wrong. Hang on one second. I'm going to try that one more time. Share, and here's my PowerPoint. Okay, here we go. Now I'm doing it right. There we go. First of all, name of the course. Continue to share is entrepreneurial mindset. Here is a picture of a horse for no other reason that this is a picture of a horse. It actually reminds me of a story and goes back to history. I'm very I'm a very big history fan, and the reason for that is I believe that history continues to repeat itself over and over and over and over and over again. And I absolutely agree that if you don't know history, you are bound to repeat it. Um, 650 BC. Okay, 650 BC. There was this dude named Pythagoras. Okay, and he was essentially one of the first entrepreneurs. So think about that. 600 BC, and it's 2026 right now. So we're talking almost 3,000 years ago. So entrepreneurship, starting business, it's actually it's older than that. In fact, do you know that the first written human piece of writing ever written in the history of humankind was called the Mediterranean Signory? It was a receipt and a complaint letter. It was pure, total proof of entrepreneurship. This comes from 2500 BC. 2500. That's crazy. That's 5,000 years old. Anyway, I digress. Pythagoras, very famous. You know him as the triangle person, right? But you probably didn't know he was an aspiring musician, and not only a musician, but had basically a little company. And he wrote this little great story here about the man and the horse. There was a horse that was in a bar in a yard, okay? And the horse was walking around, and a wolf came out of nowhere and scared the poop right out of the horse. And the horse went running. And out of nowhere comes a man, and the man is carrying a spear. And the man with the spear says to the horse, "I'll do you a favor. Uh, I'll use my spear and I'll scare away the wolf." And the horse says, "Okay, what's the catch?" And the man says, "Well, I have to sit on your back." So the man got on the horse with the spear and scared the wolf away. But guess what? When the wolf left, the man never left either. And you say to yourself, wow, that's a crazy story. What does that have to do with entrepreneurship? Well, it means, unless you, who do you think the man is? The government, right? You go to the government, and the government gets on your back, and they're going to give you money and help you do things, and that means they're never getting off your back. Or it doesn't have to be the government. We don't have to get into the government world. We could just say it could be a big ass company, right? You go to some a venture capitalist, and the venture capitalist is like, "Hey, here's $1 million. Start your company." Okay, you get your $1 million. Do you think you get rid of the venture capitalist? You think they just disappear? No, 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 no. You keep paying them and paying them and paying them. So don't be the horse. Okay, two classes. Okay, two books: Enterprising Nonprofits, a toolkit for social entrepreneur, which we'll get into and what that actually means, and then of course the Lemonade Stand book, the Lemonade Stand book. So courses in entrepreneurship, a lot of them have become what are called problem-based learning. So, getting back to our good friend Chris, Chris was like, "Oh, I had to do this project," and yeah, well, there is a project. Okay, there's a lot of this stuff of doing stuff ourselves. The grading comes down to the Canvas and class participation is 35% of the class. There are reading quizzes, but I'll give you all the answers to them. Then there's basically this feasibility study and a sales presentation. That's a 5 minute long sales presentation. No more than 5 minutes. It should be like 3 minutes. And so that's it. That's the class. So if you look at this thing, if you were to do like, let's say you decided you wanted to start a company with a couple of your peers in the group and you wanted to do this stuff together. Okay, fine. Let's say there's two or three of you, and now you have a little bit of group work. So 25% and 15%, that's 30, that's 40% is could be considered group work. Although I wrote this class so that it can be done as individuals. I fully expect 95% of us to do each of these little things all by ourselves. And you'll see the first exercises are all individual. Now, the next thing is here, the breakdown. You'll see that there's a bunch of these little quizzes. Like I said, I'll give you all the answers to them. Then there's these individual assignments, these class attendance and class assignments. They all come out here at 25%, and each one's piece by piece by piece. Then there'll be company assignments that are, like I said, if you do it by yourself, they're individuals. If you're doing the company with a couple of people, they become kind of group assignments. There's a point of purchase intercept, a feasibility study, and then the sales presentation. So this is the actual breakdown of each assignment, and you can see there's a bunch of them because the numbers are small. You got 7 quizzes. You got 11 assignments here and 13 classes. You got 5 company assignments, one point of purchase intercept, one feasibility study, and one sales presentation. Now, I've gotten some bad feedback, and I want to share the feedback with you because I want to make sure that if you're taking this class, you can still drop this class and take it, like I said, with anybody else. You don't have to take me. I'm not a gate person to the minor, but I did write this for the minor. This person, but I want you to make sure that if you're this person who wrote this, then you should drop the class with me. I think I kind of already did this one before, but it says this is labeled as a web class, but we have to do a presentation on Zoom at the very end. Okay, so what that means is the final sales presentation does not have to be on Zoom. You can use Zoom. You can use a video machine of your choosing. You can use your camera. You can use a phone. You can use a VHS. I don't give a crap. You're just going to hand it in. Okay. And I had recommended that, hey, it's super easy if you just do it on Zoom or record it on Zoom with you, with each other and submit the recording. Anyway, the way the groups were arranged for the final project were done very poorly. Okay. I'm not arranging any groups. I am not arranging any groups. If you want to be in a group and you have a group, do your group. But if not, this is an individual class. I tried to reach out to group members, but I got no response. I have no ability to make other students contact you. I can try, but I can't. This is an online class. It's not like I can go to somebody's house and knock on their door. I'd like to, so we need to eliminate group projects. Okay, so okay, we get that. We just addressed that. I'll not recommend this class to others until some simple changes can be made to make this course a lot easier. Okay, there you go. Assignment, this random deadlines change often. Yes, I'm telling you right now, I gave you deadlines. There will be cases where, people email me and say, can I have another week? Yes, absolutely. The answer is yes. Teamwork is incredibly difficult because of web class. Yes, if you form a team with somebody that's in Erie and you're in Philadelphia, that's going to be very hard. Okay, very hard. I don't know what to tell you there. I didn't learn much in this classes. The quiz almost had no, I think they meant to put no correlation to the textbook, and some of the assignments did not even relate to the class. I'm sorry about that. If any of us need to have a direct correlation, email me and I'm sure I can show the correlation. Now, on the intrinsic rewards, these are the things we're really going to focus on here. Okay, something called self-efficacy, meaning like you be in charge of you, like the horse. Don't make the horse mistake. Leadership. Okay, how do you get something going, but also get people going in the way that you need to be going? Even if you're a solo entrepreneur, you need people. You need people to make stuff for you. You need people to distribute stuff for you. You need people to help you understand things. You need people to buy stuff from you. Okay, recognizing new opportunities. This is a skill. A new opportunity recognition is not something you're born with. There are some people that grow up in houses where they're inundated on a regular basis. Believe me, if you grew up in my house, you'd be like sick of it because I'm always looking for some crazy angle on something. Creativity. This is something, and it's interesting. And I'm going to pause for 1 second here. I'm going to ask us, okay? We're those of us watching, Brooke, Amila, Amani, and Ludi, and Carson, and Alexander. Those of you who were able to watch that little video, the little video that I showed you from the 1970 that was clearly made by people who were on drugs, it was all about creativity. Now, if you can recall for just 1 second, would you say that there was one thing that all of those inventions had in common? I know I'm putting you on the spot. How about this? I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Would you agree with me that, and don't agree if you don't agree, would you agree with me that every single creative accomplishment of the human race in that 4 minute video of humankind was the product of a problem? In other words, starting at the beginning, just go back to the very beginning of the video. The first reason the guy had to figure out how to make the loud sound was because they were afraid of the loud, big animal that was trying to eat them. And then turn that into hunting because they were hungry. So each one of these things, all the way up that line, all the way to the nuclear big explosion at the end, I'm telling you, creativity comes from a need. And entrepreneurship comes from a need, comes from a pain, and we'll get much more into that, I promise, as we go through. All right, so back to this here. Let me go back here. All right, so creativity is a process. You have to learn it. Now, this is where we get really nutty. Comfort with ambiguity. When I tell you, I've got some videos here that you're going to love, and some of them are friends of mine, and you can't believe the nuttiness of some of these entrepreneurs. Now, again, my name is Brad. You can email me 24/7. Okay. JBL15 at psu.edu. Literally, you can email me anytime. I generally start drinking alcohol at 8:30 p.m. So I'm not allowed to answer emails if I've had a drink. My wife turns off all the computers because I got myself in trouble one time by sending an email to somebody when I was a little bit drunk and I probably shouldn't have. Anyway, I go to bed at 11 o'clock and I wake up at 3 a.m. Okay. 3 a.m. every morning. First thing I do is check my email. So if you have emailed me when I'm asleep, I promise you I will email you back as soon as I'm awake. Okay. So I will get back to you immediately. You're always available to you. Now, my background, I am now applying to you for a job. And I said, always question authority of anybody who's going to teach you anything about entrepreneurship. Okay. So now, well, I went to college and I went to Villanova University. I graduated in 1989. While I was in college, okay, so I was the same exact age as every one of us in this group. Not all of us, there are a couple of us who are older. I started many, many companies. Now, I was an Arabic major, so I actually had a chance to live abroad. I had a chance to be an exchange student in the Middle East, and I lived with a Bedouin family in the desert for a couple of weeks, and I learned a lot of really crazy stuff. But while I was in college, I created, I'm going to list, you ready? Here's the companies that I've started. I started a catering company. I started a beer meister cleaning company. I started a food and entertainment delivery company. I started an international chauffeur service. I started a movie company. I actually made a movie. I produced a movie. I screened the movie at the New York City International Film Festival. I started a punk rock band. I went and performed with the punk rock band all over different places. In fact, you can still find some of my recordings on the YouTube. Let's see, what else? Then I went on and I got my first job after I graduated on Wall Street. And I worked on Wall Street for 3 years and I became a bond analyst. I worked in investment banking and investment banking support and also in public offerings. Then I had an opportunity to join my dad, who was starting a company, and I joined in sales as to be a salesperson, a package manufacturing, contract manufacturing, and graphic design company. We did advertising and graphic design. And after only 4 years, I saved all my commissions and I bought a partnership in the company, and I ended up buying the entire company. And we sold the company and retired when I turned 30 years old. Now, I don't recommend retiring at 30 years old because you'll get very bored. And I did, and you end up doing crazy things. While I was there, though, at Packaging Network, I went to Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, to the graduate school, to the MBA program, the WEMBA program, to go to business school. So that when I graduated, and then I also sold the company, then I started a software company called Rubbermind, another one called Browser Books. Um, I then was very bored. I became a professional surfer and a professional marathon swimmer. I swam 26-mile swims. And then I became a scuba dive treasure hunting wreck seeker. And I realized you can never make money doing that. And then I ended up deciding I wanted to become a pilot, and I got my pilot license, and I got my first job. Any of us from Philadelphia, if you've ever listened to KYW News Radio, I was the traffic reporter, flying around Philadelphia, calling in the traffic jams on I-95 and 76 and the Blue Route and what have you. And so I ended up doing that. Then I decided I wanted to go to the airlines. I actually got hired by an airline on September the 9th, 2001. If you don't know what that date means, it's a bad date, okay? And I was fired with everybody else. And I actually started a flight school here at University Park Airport. So I own a flight school at University Park Airport, and I teach airplane flying. If any of you are interested, I can't fly with you until you're not my student anymore. But See, somebody put a chat in there. I can't quite get to that. So shout at me if you have something you want to say, because I can't read the chats while I'm also doing this. That said, I did that. I've been doing that since then, and but I taught a guy how to fly who was starting up the entrepreneurship program here at Penn State, and he said, "Hey, would you be interested in joining me?" And I did. I joined Penn State, and that was 15 years ago. And so when I started here, he said, "Hey, why don't you try teaching one class and see if you love it?" And it was in 2011, and I did. And not only did I love it, I don't know if that date means anything to you, but 2011 was a rocky year for Penn State, and the rest of the world wanted to shut Penn State down. And I watched the Penn State students become one body of the most amazing, tenacious people that I have ever seen on earth. And I fell in love with Penn State students, so much so that I went back to school to get another master's at Penn State so that if I'm going to teach Penn State students, I want to be able to say, you know what? I'm a Penn State graduate also. Okay. I went to Penn State. I bleed blue just like you do. And meanwhile, while I've been here, still teaching full time and also running my flight school, I also have just recently started. Well, first of all, I started the major, like I think I said, I was the first, one of the founders of the major, and also the first co-director of the minor, entrepreneurship minor. And now I don't do that anymore. But since then, I mean, I teach in it, but I don't have to do any administrative things anymore. My wife and I have just started. You may see me out and about because I started doing in my spare free time Uber Eats and DoorDash and also Sparks for Walmart. And my wife and I have been trying to figure out how to turn this into some kind of a logistics company by running cross apps and trying to make that work. So don't be surprised if you're out there and I show up and deliver McDonald's to you or some Walmart products. Don't forget to tip your drivers. I think I throw that in there. Anyway, okay, so that's my background. And again, this was when I first wrote this class, I had to do it by myself. Okay, and you can see here. I'll just go ahead. I'll just share this. This is me teaching this class the first time alone in a studio.
Hello.
I start
Hi.
to get a little
Andy.
weird, so
Um,
I really, really, really appreciate you joining me live to keep me from getting too crazy. Okay, now let's move on here real quick, and we're almost done. What is entrepreneurship? What does it mean? Like I said, it was a dirty word. Okay, it was a dirty word. In this class, though, we use a heuristic. Okay, heuristic is a fancy word, just means like the textbooks and stuff that we use, that we follow, the theory and the philosophy. It comes from this thing called effectuation. Okay, effectuation. And what it means is that we start, and you'll see this whole class follows this. We start with who I am and what I know. And you'll see the very first assignment that it's not due until February 2nd. I haven't rolled it out yet. It starts with taking a close look at ourselves and deciding what we like to do, what we're good at doing, and what we think makes us, it embodies a skill or an accolade or any kind of achievement. Okay, when we figure out who we are and what you know and who you know, which is why we're all looking at each other's introductions, because you all know each other, because we're all in the same room together, that can affect the goals that we end up having. Then we start writing down our goals to give ourselves accountability. Then we interact with the people that we know who then become, I hate the word stakeholder now. I used to love it before, but let's just call them shareholders or people that are startup network people in our startup network. Because the more people you know, the more means you have, which means you can have new goals. And this is a cycle. Now, this is a heuristic I wrote. It's called the pain grid. It starts with a need or a problem, but also, you see, it starts with what you have. So it doesn't help you if you take this class and you're like, you know what? I want to start a software company and that's going to be an app. Okay. But you don't know how to write an app. You don't know how to market an app and you don't know any of these kinds of things. That's going to make you what's called a entrepreneur. Okay. And we don't want to create entrepreneurs in this class. We want to create actual entrepreneurs because we're going to start with what we have and we're not going to risk what we can't afford to lose ever. We're also going to leverage all the surprises that come along and align every single thing with the pain. And a pain has to be two things, it has to be a need and it also has to be a problem. A need is something like this: I need to eat. Okay. A problem is I haven't had a very good vindaloo lately, and I would love to have one. You can see the need, everyone has to eat. Okay. But a problem is a specific thing. I haven't had a good vindaloo lately. Where will I get one? Well, maybe Ludi's starting a company that's going to make vindaloos, and I'm going to come to her place and buy a vindaloo. The customer is all the people that need, who have the problems that we do stuff for. And guess what? They are the first people in your startup network. And finally, this thing called a log line. How can we articulately describe and pitch our product and service and tell the story of what we're talking about, what we're doing in one sentence or less? It's the process of creating value by bringing together package and resources, exploiting an opportunity. We're going to identify an opportunity, develop a concept, determine the required resources, acquire the necessary resources, implement, manage, harvest the venture. We're going to take a good idea, we're going to turn it into an opportunity. Okay. We're going to solve burning problems, we're going to target a market, we're going to execute. That's what this is all about. Now, let me give you so we have some other books you could read if you're interested. And my all time favorite book is Entree Leadership by this guy named Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey's on the radio. He's got a podcast. He's a popular character, but boy, is he good. And you're going to see that we use quite a few of the principles, which is funny because I developed my principles long before I started watching Dave Ramsey. But now I see it. Hey, he talks about goals at work. What does that mean? Well, they have to be specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be written down. Is the difference between, they have to have a time limit. What's the difference between a good one and a bad one? Well, good ones are specific and they're written down. They have mechanisms to control your time. And guess what? We're doing all of that in this class. We're literally doing that. The feasibility study is your time with a to-do list of how you're going to do this thing. All right, now we're just going to finish this up right now. If you have a timer, put your timer on and give me 30 more seconds. For next time, I want you to do this. This is your assignment for next week. Introduce yourself, read the other introductions of your peers. And tonight, each recording will have a pop quiz. Okay. It's going to be not always at the end, sometimes it's in the middle. They're always simple. They're stupid, simple things like today. The pop quiz answer, you'll see that you'll have an announcement. The announcement will have a link to this video. Okay. And then right below it, a link to the pop quiz for today. This is how I know whether or not you read or you watched this video. The pop quiz is what is due for next time. So all you have to do is go to the attendance. You'll see the attendance is right there. It says attendance quiz, or you can see it right in the announcement, and it'll say what the quiz is. Okay, what I just gave it to you. So now just you're going to write that in. So if we were going to go ahead and say, let's go over to Chrome. What does this look like? All right. Well, let's see. First of all, the announcements. Okay. This was my announcement. It says, please join us for Synchronous Conference 12026. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm going to send out another announcement in a couple of seconds, and it's going to say, here's the recording for our Synchronous Conference 12026. And underneath it, it's going to say, here's the attendance quiz. And here's the attendance quiz. Okay. And they all look like this. Okay. Attendance quiz for Conference 12026. It says, what is the pop attendance quiz answer for tonight? Here's a hint. It's what's due next time. Okay. And that's it. All you have to do is start the assignment and write in what we just said. Okay. All right. I'm stopping the share. What questions do we have? Do we have a lot of questions? Do we have any questions that we want in the recording? Because we went a little bit long in the recording. Those of you watching the recording, can you email me right away and let me know if you have any questions? And if you don't, I'll assume you don't. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn off the recording. I think. Yep, stopping the recording. Okay, so thank you for watching the recording.